Happy Tuesday, everyone. Hang on, Corey. Hang on. Know this guy. Ladies and gentlemen, happy Tuesday. Tonight I got Congilio with me. Right now we're going to let some people tune in here. This is Shelby Dion, otherwise known as the Paris Monster. We have to sit down. Get the tracks ready. Corey's got the things tuned up. First one's here with this one. So, dude, you've never heard of that guy, huh?
No, man, that is amazing.
Dude, I
love that.
I thought you'd appreciate that. So I've been starting to do intro tunes and trying to do some things that people aren't expecting. And
that's great,
dude. Just when you think it's great, he starts singing.
Yeah, man, it reminds me of I like in the late '90s, early 2000s when the DJ stuff was happening a lot. Yeah. There's a band with the drummer Jojo Mayer. He has this band called Nerve, and it's like live drum and bass stuff where the sound guy is actually a part of the band. It's really, really cool. But
I need to check that out.
It's really cool, and it's one of those drum shows like what he had going on there. They always have the coolest musicians all the time.
Yeah,
for sure. And you wonder, like, you watch like all these pedal demos and you're like, where in the world would I use that like fuzz octave synth? Those guys are doing it. They bought it. They bought the one.
Love it. Well, dude, Corey, thank you so much for joining me. And sorry, I forgot the E in your name earlier.
Common mistake. There's a few of us out there. No problem. Dude, won't hold it against you.
So
I'm glad to be here.
So I don't think we've ever actually officially met, but but I saw you with Tim Pierce at NAMM when I was out there, and Tim is a good friend of mine, and you guys were doing something for Universal Audio.
Sure.
And that was the first I found out about you. And of course I was just like, yeah, this guy's a bitchin' player and everything else. And then I started following you and you're on my radar, and I realized you've done a dozen or 15 different TrueFire courses, etc.
Right.
And I just think you're one of those rare dudes that's as good of a teacher as you are a player. And so I just wanted to start this off and just say that it's noticed, and so anybody watching that doesn't know who Corey is, you should check his stuff out, because I mean, again, he's one of those rare people that's as good of a teacher as a player.
I appreciate that. And I've been, once I kind of got turned on to you with like some of the stuff you've been doing recently, I was talking to the guys at Premier Guitar about you recently and stuff. And I was like, well,
Jason and all those.
Jason, I was like, I'm going to reach out just to say that I admired what you were doing. And, we both submitted, lessons for Premier Guitar and there's some kind of like cool fraternity involved with that because those guys they're the coolest on the block for sure.
Dude, they are so cool. I remember I put out one of my very first reaction videos, and I don't know how much you know about me. I don't expect you to know too much, but I've made hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of YouTube videos before anything ever popped. And when I first started doing this reaction series, I didn't know if it was going to work or not, but Jason shot me a message on like the third one or something, and he's like, dude, this shit's gonna work. Keep doing it. Come, let me help you however I can. Like
that's awesome.
He was watching. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
On it, and so like they are the best of the best. I completely agree.
Yeah, he'll shake me down. He'll be like, so when you're not too busy, can you do some lessons for me? And he goes, well, what are you doing? And this was like 3 years ago, and I was on the road with an artist named Lucy Silvas, and we were opening for Chris Stapleton for like 21 shows or 22 shows. And he was like, well, you're opening for one of my favorite artists. I can't fault you too much. He's like, hit me up when you come back. Like always super supportive, about whatever you're doing. And he's there when you're ready, So that's awesome.
For sure. All right, real quick. Mods, I see you all out there. How are you tonight? Thanks for joining in. I know that you have a lot of choices for your entertainment tonight, and I applaud you for doing something positive and uplifting and musical, and not playing down in the muck and mire with as it's so easy to do. And so David, Richard, Beware, Fishing Idaho, Jimmy, Cashew, great to see you all. Now, Corey, I don't really, beyond what I just said, I don't really know much of your background.
Okay.
So I asked you to bring a couple tracks.
Yeah.
As you know, we do live tracks here and share them, and the whole deal, just like with the Josh Dion I started with, is to find stuff we otherwise wouldn't be into, wouldn't know about, to get motivated to keep picking the thing up and get better. Right?
Sure.
So, you mentioned you just played in a band that opened for Chris Stapleton. I didn't know that. So could you give me or give all of us the real quick history of kind of, who you are professionally, and then kind of how you got into the online thing, and then let's segue into that. Maybe your first track, maybe something that got the juice flowing.
Sure. Well, there's not enough time.
I know
there is.
I know.
It's crazy because probably like you just started playing guitar in your bedroom and thought it was fun, and you got proficient enough at it to where maybe you got some gigs, and you're like, hey, I actually want to pursue this. And I grew up in the Northeast on the Pennsylvania-Jersey border.
I'm in Maryland, by the way.
Oh, okay. So I was a couple hours, north of you.
Yeah.
And then I moved to Pittsburgh and went to the Art Institute out there, and I did some audio engineering stuff and realized I just wanted to be a guitar player. Moved to Nashville once, had some gigs. They all folded. I went back to Pittsburgh, started teaching full time, and I was like, I'm actually like a pretty decent teacher, but I worked my ass off to try to be a better one because I was always afraid somebody would stump me. So, and they still do.
They do.
Yeah. And so I just like worked really hard to do that. And I had a friend of mine who was my Fender rep at one of the music stores I was working at. And we became friends, and he left Fender, did some other things. Then he worked at Fishman, and a lot of people will see me in old Fishman demos, demo and acoustic guitar products and stuff. And that's kind of how I got into the sort of musical instrument side. And from that, I met the True Fire folks. And I was doing demos for Fishman that True Fire was filming. And they said, hey, do you teach? And I was like, I'm teaching 60 students a week, in a 4x6 closet, and that was true. Sometimes it was even more than that, like Monday through Friday, 3 to 9 every day. Yeah, I'm sure. And they said, well, do you teach? I said, yeah. And they said, well, this is what we do. And I was like, wow. So it took us a while to kind of figure out what my niche was going to be. I tried this. They thought I was like an acoustic singer-songwriter, and which is fine. And I do that on occasion. But I sent them a video of me playing some blues. They loved it. They said, this is your first course. 50 Texas Blues Like She Must Know. And then that's how that got started in 21 courses later, I think, with them. Here we are.
You've done 21.
21. And that's just with them. I have another several in the can with other companies. And I'll be doing my own stuff like you do too. So that's kind of how that happened. But my thing was always I wanted to be a session guitar player and a touring guitar player.
Yeah.
So my heroes were Brent Mason early on, and then when I came to town, I heard about the Bukovacs and Kenny Greenberg and all those people, so on and so forth. And however, that hasn't really panned out for me as much because it's a really small circle. I still do sessions from home. I produced a bunch of stuff in my past, and I've toured a lot. I've toured with some great people. I just got off the road last year with a guy named David Lee Murphy, who's written like 20 number ones. Wow. And you had Bukovac on, and Books played on a bunch of his stuff, so I had to learn his solos to play him on the road.
Yeah.
Which is if you live in Nashville, that's what you do. You play Books solos. So it's been that kind of thing. It's been nice to have one toe in the water. And then being in that musical instrument world, I connected with Universal Audio. I mean, I work with Martin Guitar, Universal Audio, and Universal Audio. I just said, hey, when they put the aux out, I confronted them and I said, I need to be your demo guy. I can tell the story. And they said, okay. And then we got to an agreement, and then we did this thing at Sweetwater where they booked like everybody I love: Tim Pierce, Buddy Miller, Butch Walker, Lyle Workman. It was like insane. And I get into the van with Tim, to the dinner with Tim, and I was like, hey Tim, it's really nice to meet you. He goes, I know who you are. Yeah. You know how matter of fact he can be sometimes.
Yes, I do.
And we hit it off, and I'm sure he hits you up with, hey, how you doing? How's things coming? And picking your brain, and we do the same thing. And he's helping me sort of build up my thing when he can. And it's been great to kind of get on that playing field with a lot of people that I look up to. So it's awesome. I mean, I text Butch Walker, once a month or so, and we talk, and I've, gushed over his records for years, and he's unknowingly taught me a lot about being a producer, so it's been a fun mixed bag of stuff. But I just played a gig in Kentucky on Saturday, first live gig I've done since February.
So you actually had a fly-in date.
You
drove there, right?
Yeah, 2-hour drive. And it was on like a wood plank stage, private gig for a company. It was like a customer appreciation thing with these two really great singer-songwriters in town, going from modern country to like blue-eyed soul type stuff. There was two artists, and they're in a relationship. They're engaged, and so we played both of the one band for both of the artists. It was really cool. So getting back on the horse a little bit, it was different, felt like
that. I'm just taking a random shot in the dark just because I have two friends that are from Baltimore that moved to Nashville.
Okay.
That have a band together, but also do solo work, and they split the same band. It's not Adam Wakefield and Jenny, is it?
No, but I know who Adam Wakefield is. For sure.
Okay, yeah. You said that, and I was just like, I'm sure there's lots of people like that down there, but
no, yeah.
I figured I'd take a shot.
I mean, the guy that I rode up with was playing acoustic guitar, and his girlfriend is an artist, and they live together. So, my fiance is a payroll accountant and brilliant at a million other things, and she's not in music, but she could do anything she wanted. So.
Dude, how true is it? We need that backbone.
Oh my gosh, yeah. I didn't realize it until it actually happened, and I was like, oh yeah, I'll take care of the music. It's okay. Not because I couldn't, wouldn't release it to her, just because it's like there's some burdens involved.
Well, dude, let's bring up your first track. I know that you have a couple in here, so I don't know which one you want to start with, but why don't you tell me why you picked this one?
I'm gonna bring up now,
and feel free to play any example or anything like that. It's totally your world, man.
Man, well. First of all, do I click the box that's kind of grayed out down here? Oh, there, it'll bring it up for me. You already have it. You're the master. So this is Jeff Healey playing See the Light on that show with David Sanborn was hosting, and it's Marcus Miller, Omar Hakim, Dr. John in the band. And come on. Like, and it's funny too, when you hear Marcus, like, he'll slap so much, but he's so good at it that it's not annoying. Yeah. And he just like buries it. And Jeff is just on another level. So I saw Jeff Healey open for the Allman Brothers, in like 1993 or something.
Wow.
And it was really, really cool. And it was just sort of as Warren Haynes was getting into Allman Brothers. It was awesome. No Derek Trucks. It was in middle school. Probably.
Did your dad or someone take you to that?
Yeah,
Or
my dad took me. It was like right out of outside of like East Rutherford, New Jersey, like the Giants Stadium. And
I bet that made an impression for life.
Oh, big time. It came back once I saw this video, but even more so, I was working in a music store, stocking shelves, and I became friends with all the guys. I was like the little peon, you know, and there was this dude in there just shredding, and he sounded like Stevie Ray meets Eric Johnson. And I said, do you teach? And he's like, yeah. And I used to drive like twice a month, an hour to his place. His name's Lee Wertman. He's in LA, killer guitar player. And he said, he turned me on to this cover to cover Jeff Healey record where it's all covers. And I listened to that on cassette all the way back and forth. And it was just like no holds barred, unadulterated shredding. And I think that's one of the things I think is really cool. So when I rediscovered this clip, I was like, let's do this today.
Dude, love it, man.
So there you go.
And you can start anywhere, play as much or a little bit as you want. Here we go. This is Jeff Healey, See the Light from '88.
The whole thing's worth it. So
dude, go for it, man. Go for it.
Oh yeah, I can just hit play on my end. Yeah.
Yep.
Here we go.
Jeff?
Shining in my eye. Can you see the light? Can you see the light? Me shining in my eye. Well, you know I need you, baby, and I sure ain't gonna tell you no lie. See the light? Can you see the light? It won't shine on my face. Can you see the light, baby? Can you see the light? On my face, on my. You know I want you, baby, and I gotta look for this place. Yeah, help me down like the blue.
What's that slap?
Yeah.
Can you see the light?
Just right back into the vocal, man. Just right back in there.
I don't know how does that.
Can you see the light? Well, see the light of love shining from my heart. Well, you know I'm running my boy, and I shine on the Christmas star. Well, now, can you see the light? See the light? See the
Dude.
Amazing.
Thank you.
Dude, I haven't seen that.
Yeah.
I mean, he's one of the best of all time. Like it's so beyond words.
It's so crazy that so he's playing with his thumb. When he's playing with his thumb, it's almost like he's tapping. You know, it's like
Yeah.
it's crazy. And that's the first time I've ever done that. I've done that in years, but it's insane. It's insane. You know what I noticed too when he first goes for it, when he's like, so it's like I actually got a looper, you know.
Do it.
So he'll be like, so he'll go like his bends. Or it's so in tune and strong.
It's so strong.
Incredible. Like I'm out of breath just doing that one little thing there. You know what I mean? But like man, I don't know. Chops for days, and he just went for it. But the thing is like, what was he doing? What was he listening to? Like, he's probably listening to Hendrix, obviously, but like, man, like he couldn't see Hendrix playing with his teeth. So somebody must have told him. I don't know. But he embodies everything of a guitar player of that ilk. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But at a different physical delivery, if you will.
Yeah, no, he's totally mind-blowing.
Yeah, I just it was so fun revisiting some of this stuff because it was like, wow, you know, I was just totally like reinvigorated, you know.
Oh no, one second. There you go. Is that better, guys? I was getting some audio issues from the guys.
Okay.
Out there.
Good to have some peeps out there keeping tabs on us.
They say the mic is way low and echoing badly. God, I'm getting crazy echo on my end too.
Oh, from you?
But you don't get it.
I'm not hearing it. I'm clean as super crystal.
Oh man. Hold on.
Sorry,
Let me
guys.
change something. This is how it goes.
Check. Check.
I don't know what's going on. Stand by.
Yep.
Still there?
Yeah, I'm here.
That's down. All right. That's a little better. Oh, I got see all the.
I can hear the echo a little bit. Is everybody freaking out?
Yeah.
Big echo.
I feel like it's on your end.
Okay.
Try this real quick.
Here, let me do something else. Okay, tell me what you want me to try.
Well, I was going to say, actually, let me mute you. Check. Yeah. When I mute you, it stops.
Okay. Let's try that. Any better?
Check.
Hello. Nope. Same. Let me do. We'll just do something else. We'll go to Plan B, which is.
I love that you have a plan B.
Of course. Let's see if I can figure this out.
Stand by.
How about that? Is that any better?
Yes.
Are you sure?
It's a little. So
Hello,
now I hear the
hello.
echo like way in the distance.
Is it passable?
Yes.
Okay.
I think it's passable.
And let me do the audio process. Here it is. 2. Yeah. Hey.
Check.
Let's try that. Hello.
Yeah, I think you're good, but now your video stopped.
Oh, really?
Oh my goodness. Guys, don't leave.
Here we go.
Oh, there you go.
I'm back.
Okay.
We'll get through it.
All right, we'll get through it. Ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
So, sorry about that. So, that was Jeff Healey. All right. No, now I got the Echo again, big time, man.
Oh.
Check. Yes, it's definitely on your end. When I mute you, it goes away.
Okay. Would
Why
it
don't
be?
you log out and come back in?
I'll do that. Stand by.
See, this is how it goes, ladies and gentlemen. This is how it goes. At least it's not me. At least it's not me for once. How you guys doing out there? Cheers. I hope you're having a good time. Audio is a beast, par for the course. Yes, it is a live show. I heard my mic is low. Hopefully it's a little louder now. You should be able to hear it more. Let me please confirm or not confirm that. He's just a very good ventriloquist. All right, he's back.
Better. Hello.
Check.
How are we?
Dude, I still got an echo.
Oh no. I don't know what's happening. Sorry, guys.
All right, well, here's what's going to happen. We're going to do it. We're going to do it old school. So I'm going to talk, and then when I'm done talking, I'm going to unmute you, and then it's your turn to talk.
Oh. It sounds so good on my end. It's crazy.
I know, it's crazy. I don't know what's going on, but we're going to do it manually like we used to.
Okay. As long as you have experience.
I mean,
this arena.
Not that much experience. All right, so next thing I usually like to do is I like to take requests from people in the audience here. So I'm seeing a lot of people. I see Derek, Deuce DeMortis, Bluebird, Brian, Richard F., Clay Oatman, Tom Haviland, Plectramora, and Brandon Wickman have all super chatted. Thank you so much for the donation. And I'm gonna give you, Corey, I'm gonna give you the choice. So I'm gonna read this down the list, and I'll let you pick which one you want to do. So you got Derek wants John Mayer with Keith Urban, Don't Let Me Down. Just wait till I finish so I can hear you because I have you muted. John Mayer with Keith Urban, Don't Let Me Down. We got Bill Kirchen, Time Will Tell. What We're Marching Towards, Jeffrey Martin. Jamestown Revival, Crazy World. Jason Isbell, Elephant, which is, amazing. Then Tom Haviland wants some killer jams with Greg Cox. So he says, Let's Get Sinister, January 27th, 2020. Plectramora with The Weatherkins and the Burton Cummings Theater, 2009. And Brandon Wickman wants Lonnie Smith Trio, Iowa City. Anything stick out to you?
Man, good questions. I don't want to give John Mayer too much love on this channel. Come on. You do it enough already.
Do it.
Let me hear.
Do I?
Give me those one more time, if you don't mind. I like the Jason Isbell one. Let's do the Jason Isbell.
Sure, that's a very easy choice. Let's do it.
She said, Andy, you're better than your past. Winked at me and drained her glass. Cross-legged on a bar stool like nobody sits anymore. She said, Andy, you're taking me home. But I knew she planned to sleep alone. I'd carry her to bed, sweep up the hair from the floor. If I'd fucked her before she got sick, I'd never hear the end of it. She don't have the spirit for that now. We drink these drinks and laugh out loud. bitch about the weekend crowd and try to ignore the elephant somehow. She said, Andy, you cracked me up. Seagram's in a coffee cup. Sharecropper eyes, her hair almost all gone. When she was drunk, she made cancer jokes. She made up her own doctor's notes. Surrounded by her family, I saw that she was dying alone. I'd sing her classic country songs and she'd get high and sing along. She don't have much voice to sing with now. We burn these joints in effigy, cry about what we used to be, try to ignore the elephant somehow. I've buried her 1,000 times, given up my place in line, but I don't give a damn about that now. There's one thing that's real clear to me: no one dies with dignity. We just try to ignore the elephant somehow. We just try to ignore the elephant somehow. We just try to ignore the elephant somehow. Somehow.
And there is the man, Jason Isbell. All right, so Corey just disconnected. He's coming back in. As per your request, I asked him to crush the audio on his browser. So if that's the start of the issue, then we'll get it resolved. So let's bring him back in. Corey, you there?
One sec. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Is there echo happening?
There is echo.
Damn it.
Dude, I don't know. I mean, what are you using for?
So it's the same thing I do for my live streams every week. So I don't know why it's maybe just, and I've used StreamYard with this before. So
well, ladies and gentlemen, you get to see some live troubleshooting, for better or for worse.
yeah, really.
So do you use loopback? What are you using?
I don't. I have a special sort of routing that I do for my Universal Audio Apollo, and it works every week without fail. So, but hey, this is what happens.
Well, some of the people saying it's barely echoing now, so let's just go with it.
Okay, cool. And let's see if we got the camera. And I'm back.
There you are.
There I am.
Dude, let's just go with it.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate everybody being cool with it.
Dude,
That's awesome.
It's just like a real gig. Shit happens.
That's right.
It actually does. Constantly.
And that's a funny thing, you know, in the guitar lesson world, is that's something I'll never be able to teach in a course, is what happens when, you know, so often, like the gigs that I practice for, you get these tracks from people and they're loaded with guitar parts. And I'm going to eventually make a video someday of like how to be a Nashville sideman or sidewoman or whatever, because it's so not what you think. You got to be able to move on a dime every time. And we're doing that now. And knowing your gear is part of it.
So tell me about that, because
Okay.
I don't have much experience in that world. I mean, I'm here in Baltimore, and you know, I've always been in working corporate cover bands. You know what I mean? Like the wedding corporate stuff that pays the most, but very busy.
Yeah.
And so tons of different genres. You know, tons of stuff like what you're talking about, as far as you know, dealing with issues live on stage. You know, got to have reliable gear, and you got to wear a bunch of different hats and all those things. But expand on what you're talking about as far as someone sends you a bunch of tracks with a bunch of stuff on it. Like what do you mean when you're saying you've always wanted to make that video?
You know, so you get a track, and what I want to do is sometimes use a track that somebody allows me to use, because a lot of these tracks nowadays have multitude of guitar parts on them, and you have to find how to weave them all together. And it usually means picking the signature parts and then also kind of having the meat of the track too. So you might have a track that goes like, let's see here. I probably have one in this slowdowner here. I know I do.
So what you're kind of saying is, like, someone puts a band together, you know, to recreate what happens in the studio. In the studio, there might be 3 or 4 parts. There might be keys as well, but they only have the money to bring out 5 dudes.
Yeah,
and
that's
and so you gotta take the meat of what the song is and try to figure out what all the parts are to make this kind of amalgamation of the.
That's right, and a lot of times it's really getting comfortable with how well you play big open chords, you know, and it might mean having to do like. So I'm playing that little melody on the top, but the track might be, you know, and you have to kind of hold both of them together, you know, because if that's gone, the whole track goes down, you know, and the live thing, it's not going to work, you know. A lot of times sometimes the singer-songwriter will be so attached to that sacred cow on the record, like, no, I need that part, and then you're like, okay, you do it, and it goes. And they're like, well, what happened to the rest of the band? And I'm like, I stopped playing. I've had that happen a few times. And then what happens nowadays is it's a 4-piece band with tracks. So a lot of the stems, which are like stereo mixes of kind of like candy parts, you know, a lot of times it's keys, background vocals, alternate guitar parts, will be on there. And you kind of play along with the computer as the 5th person in the band. And the band's really playing. It's not like, oh, you guys are lip syncing. It's not at all. We're really playing. It's, you know, a lot of these loops and stuff that people are using, you can't do live. Now, I will say that the artists I played with recently, they go both ways. They're like, yeah, we'll have the tracks on some, but...
now that's fascinating.
Yeah. So then you have to like say, okay, well, how am I going to make this thing vibe? And my charts will look like, let's see if I have any charts handy. I don't think I do. But it's usually, sorry guys.
No, this is great.
It's usually just like numbers written on a page. You know, I've gone, and it's funny because I don't want to keep bringing up Book, but, you know, if you're in Nashville, you go and see when Book plays. And there's his binder, and he's, you know, I can probably do a pretty good Bukovac impression, you know, where he's just like...
Yes, looking over.
And then he's just killing it, and then he looks, and then he plays, you know. And it's like, wow, you just get a sort of hint of what he's doing, he looks at the number, okay, I know what that's, and it's just a roadmap, that's all it is. So Nashville is pretty comfortable letting you have those on stage, and I usually have them on an iPad, and I just kind of glance if I need to, because it's kind of accepted.
That is so fascinating to me. So... up here, I mean, obviously it's not Nashville. It's comparing completely different things, but we have at least.
But not better or worse.
Different. No, definitely not. So I will say again, pre-COVID, we are in an area where, I mean, there are 500, 600, maybe 800 people in the Baltimore metro area. Like definitely, maybe even as high as 1,000 that gig. You know, 5+ nights a week, make a full-time living doing it, like, and so that's not everywhere,
right?
And I find it's usually people either track or they don't track, and I have always, been in bands that didn't track, and every time I tried to go into one that did and fill in, you just changed something huge.
Oh, sorry.
I know you're trying to fix your guitar sound. I know.
There we go. But I'll do this. I'll unmute my speakers when I play guitar, and then it'll come through the mic.
See,
It'll
we
be
can
cool.
do it manually.
Yeah.
But anyway, I found that people are either one way or the other. Like when you're subbing with bands, it's one way or the other. And I found that when you're playing with tracks and in the in-ears, I found it to be a completely different skill set. Like the learning curve was pretty steep for me making that jump.
Oh man, first of all, your guitar is never going to sound the way it should in ears. You just have to get used to it, and you have to trust that the sound man is going to at least turn it up. So you have to get used to how things sound in there. And a 57 on a speaker right into your ear sounds terrible.
I know.
And there's no air, and then wearing one is not good for you for a number of reasons that I don't, it throws your equilibrium off. You just kind of get used to it. And it took me a long time too.
I bet.
Sure. It took me a really long time. Once you get used to it, it is super comfortable. But I mean, I remember, again, not to like I've had some great milestones, like playing the Forum, playing Red Rocks, and you have these things in your ears and you're closed off. I would take them out just so I could hear the crowd, because I'm like, this might not happen again. I want to hear this crowd roaring.
Exactly.
And I would do that, and they have crowd mics that they can put in your ears, but it ends up kind of talking about echo. You're hearing sound slap off the wall and come back. It's not. That being said, if you took your ears off and you're on a stage, and we opened for Chesney this year, and you're in front of 20,000 people, you can't hear anything on stage, and it feels like you're in quicksand going down. So you put those ears back in, and then you're reconnected. So it's a weird thing, man. That's why Hendrix had those loud amps, because you needed them. If you step 3 feet away from your amp on a stage that's 100 foot long, you're not going to hear your amp. It's gone. It's totally gone. It doesn't matter if it's a 500 watt amp. You wouldn't hear it.
So I'm sure you've seen it, but did you watch that Derek Trucks rig rundown?
A long time ago.
So the most fascinating part about it to me was that not only does he not do in-ears, he doesn't have a monitor.
Right.
So like you said, I mean, he's playing those blaring Alessandros, and he's got that little cubby that he hides in, right? But then the band sets all of their mix. They all have monitors, right? And then he self-mixes the whole night. It not even a vocal monitor, nothing. Just a wild, you just made me think of it. It's a really fascinating thing to watch if you ever find yourself watching that again.
I remember that now and thinking man, that's incredible, because most of us that are players at this level of touring don't get to do that.
You don't have that luxury.
No, it's usually what's called a throw and go situation, where your gear has to get up and off as fast as you can. It can be pretty tricky. So you design everything. You design your pedal board to be able to sound good in any amplifier. It could, depending, and that's something I've had to learn over the years. That's why a lot of the guys ended up going to Kempers and Fractals and stuff, because it sounds the same all the time.
Reliable, you're not worried about different currents and all the other nonsense.
I was just never comfortable with that. So I just went with a board that I know I could tweak quickly, and if you put it in front of a Twin or Deluxe, it would sound great. So that's.
And is that generally your go-to for an amp when you're on the road somewhere?
I like loud, clean amps, because anything you put into them, it kind of regenerates it, the way it's supposed to be. It replicates it the right way. So it got to the point where I was requesting Twins, because they are so high wattage, and if you put a high gain pedal into a low wattage amp, it just deflates it, especially at the volumes that we're going to be playing at. And the higher the headroom, the more sort of solid that tone stays. I don't know if this will make sense, but
Go for it.
Can you hear that?
Yes.
So that's just the 2-rock coming through the aux and studio monitors. take that off. Okay, I can do that. You can still hear me? Can you hear me? Yeah, good. So when I kick on a high gain pedal, or I double it, all of the notes really sort of stay intact, you know, and that's an important thing for sure. For me.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, you know.
All right.
That's what I do.
Dude, I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
I've never played gigs like you play, but I've played many very very loud big gigs, and I'm such a minimalist. I'm one of those guys that you know, I have my PRS, like my go-to big outdoor loud amp is the Z-Rec, and
Great amp. Awesome.
and just a tuner, reverb, and a wah-wah.
Oh wow.
And just swing for it.
Good for you, man. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. Well, those big amps like that you know, you can really really push. Now, like even that one, it you know, even open air, you know, you can use the power attenuator, like the thing, like it's still like you need it. But those things are great amps. Have you ever played through one of those? I love that thing.
Yeah, they're awesome. They had one over. There's a studio that's closing down here called Southern Grounds. It's Zach Brown's studio, and they had one in like the amp room. And I was tracking for somebody, and I used that on some stuff because it was just. I used to have a couple Dr. Z's in the past. I've had a Stangray, and that was awesome.
Stangray's a great amp.
Good, yeah, it's a good amp, and that was. But it, you know, I only had one amp at the time, and it wasn't loud enough. It got to 3, and then on a big stage, it was just gone. It was just totally gone. Cool amp though, really good stuff.
All right, well, let's get back to playing some tunes.
Let's hear it.
All right,
you pick one of those ones I sent you.
All right.
Unless I don't want to screw up your
No.
your thing here.
No, we're good. You just sent me the links. Let's see which they are. All right. So, this is George Benson, Affirmation, live at North Sea Jazz 2008. So talk to me about why you picked this one for us to share.
Because people don't talk about Benson enough, you know, and I was just kind of trolling YouTube, and I was like, oh man, this is good. He's just absolutely crushing it. And I've been slowly working on some Benson. I dove deep into Benson years ago, and then I just recently started to do it. And man, like some of the things he does work so well into my style that it's like it's just affirming. Nice segue.
There
into
you go.
This. Right. So check this. This is gonna be awesome.
Yeah, so let's play this, but then when we're finished, I'd love to see you talk about some of the things you may have borrowed, you know, in your playing.
Okay.
Let's do it. I've never seen this.
Do you know this song?
No.
This is from the Breezin' album in the 70s, which was really huge for him.
Yeah, I am not a jazz guy even a little bit.
He's a good way to get into it.
That's why I wanted you to show me something.
So in the pocket immediately.
Yes.
Just grooving hard.
Bass sounds fantastic. Ooh! I heard that.
Here we go.
Just the octaves everywhere, man.
I think that's David Garfield on keys. I'm not sure.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, there he is, David Garfield. And I hadn't watched this all the way through, so.
We'll let it go for a little bit. He loves it.
He's just crazy.
Yeah, I kind of really like that.
Man, that's smoking.
Dude,
Yeah.
wild.
So this is the best book. This is a Wolf Marshall book called The Best of George Benson, and this is like the second copy I've had of it because I lost the first one, and it's great because it's got so much of that signature stuff in it. It's really, really great. And I saw somebody mention that the record. See, what happened was Benson had like sort of more of a bebop phase, and then once he started singing more, like that sort of pop jazz thing took over, and that's when he made the real money. And
in the pop jazz world.
yeah. Let me turn this off. Hold on.
Yeah, go for it.
But like all that, like that kind of phrasing. see if he basically that riff is like. Do like whatever,
dude.
Yeah,
you got some serious chops, bro.
But that's so what was funny is I learned a lot. So Brent Mason's a huge Benson fan. And then Brent would play all that stuff with hybrid picking, and I heard him hybrid pick all those lines, and that's how I learned, like, you know. It's just like, but when you do that in a country thing, you know, it's the same fingerings, it's just different tone. You know. Whatever. So yeah, it's a huge influence because it's a lot of arpeggio. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's what you know I really struggle with is really just the actual phrasing, you know, and not so much, you know, the theory behind it, because you're just playing, what was that, a B minor 7 to E minor 7?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So you're playing a 1 to a 4, but there's the actual the way the lines go together. It's never come natural to me like that. Like that kind of just that kind of thing. Like I get the country hybrid thing, like the more linear chromatic approach.
Yeah.
But I have yet so I say this to ask the question. Like you say that Benson's a great way to start down that journey. Like why do you say that? Just because it's simple progressions?
If you listen to his early stuff, there's a lot of blues. You know, it's like a lot of jazz blues, like, you know, like, you know. So if I can loop this, I'll be a hero. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. So just play blues. So it's blues phrasing, but like jazzed up a little bit more, and that's kind of, so I could hear all the blues stuff happening, but the way he was playing it was his own sort of, you know, that kind of.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, yeah. There's 16th note triplets and all that kind of stuff, you know. But you know, like anything, you learn 1 or 2 solos from a particular player. They're going to repeat themselves throughout, so then you have the vocabulary from there. You know, same thing when I learned Stevie Ray Vaughan years ago. And when I watched you teach Jerry Garcia, it's the same sort of like approach, just has a different paint job every once in a while, i.e. the song, you know.
No, I mean, I obviously couldn't agree more, and there's many styles of music that I didn't get, and everybody watching, I know everybody experiences the same thing, where like you don't get it until you get it, you don't get it in your head. I mean, I remember the first the first real one for me when that happened, because I grew up as a metalhead, and that always came effortless for me, just the flow, right? But then I got really, really heavily into bluegrass, and once I started hybrid picking, like jumping from that flat picking to hybrid picking, then just like that the phrasing of the twang, once it's in there, it never goes away. But it took me many, many, many years for that to be something that I would, call intuitive. You know what I mean? To just look for the spank everywhere. And so I'm ready for that. You got the echo back again. Can you hit that button? Whatever you keep changing.
I'll sure try. I haven't changed anything, I promise.
Whenever you change to play the guitar.
Oh, okay. There we go.
You there?
Yeah, how about that?
Yeah, perfect.
Okay, good.
Whatever you did, that's the thing.
Okay, got it.
But yeah, I'm ready for that day to come when I start getting jazz lines stuck in my head when I'm driving in the car, but it just hasn't really started to happen yet,
Transcribe some.
Oh my God. I had to do a bunch of, I had to do So What and a bunch of, Miles stuff when I was at GIT, and honestly I didn't like it.
Mm-hmm.
It's just kind of where I was with that.
I totally get it, because there's I love bluegrass. I like playing it. I'm not good at it, but it's not something I want to invent. To me, it's two things. It's regional in a lot of ways. I think if you grow up in it, you have more of a fighting chance.
Totally.
And it's also very physical.
Yes.
And I don't have that kind of patience and discipline to really, and finger style guitar too, like that kind of stuff. I'll do it for a month and then I'll lose it because I lost the physical nature of it.
Well, you know what? That is such an incredible point, because I couldn't agree more. The thing, when you play in a bluegrass band, or even, like you said, like Appalachian stuff or like Americana stuff,
right?
Everyone's the drummer.
Yeah.
In a bluegrass band, everyone is the drummer, and it is absolutely an integral, approach to look at it. And for someone like myself who started playing guitar and drums at the same time, and very much think rhythm first, and I hunt for dear life to find the notes, but the beat, I know exactly where it is. That style of music has always greatly attracted me because of its physicality. To each his own.
No, absolutely. And you make a good point, because finding if you're a rhythm player, a rhythmic, I don't mean rhythm like chordal thing, but if you understand that rhythm is always happening underneath everything, it's always going to save you. You know what I mean?
Yes.
One of the clips I was going to send you was a John Scofield thing, where John can play one note but phrase it so differently because he understands the pocket, so well.
Gotcha. Well, let's bring up one more that you picked.
Okay.
And then, I'll tell you what, let's do one more from the audience, and then we'll do one more for you. I know you don't have forever.
No, we're good. I'm just looking at the chat.
Yeah, if you see anything in the chat you want to jump on, you let me know. All right, I'm going to do this. Brandon Wickman usually has hot stuff. He wants the Lonnie Smith Trio, Iowa City.
I would like to see that. I'd like to see that.
Jump to 55 minutes, he says. All right, let's do this. All right, 55. Yeah, so there's a lot of repeat offenders here. People that are here a lot.
I get that in my live stream. I love it.
Yeah, it's the best thing ever. And some of them really are usually always right on the money. So here we go. This is Dr. Lonnie Smith Trio at the 2013 Iowa City Jazz Festival, starting at 55 minutes. Nice.
Very cool. I mean, you don't hear somebody putting overdrive on ES 175 very much.
I did not see that coming.
Me neither.
All.
Very cool.
At all. All right. So again, like I told you, we can go as long or as short as you wish. I know you sent me one more.
Yeah.
Let me pull this up here. All right. Now, you sent it to me without a timestamp.
Oh, is this the chick one?
It is indeed, sir.
I think it's I got it. I think it's 20 minutes in.
All right. You want to double check?
I'm almost
Good.
go for it. I'm pretty sure.
All right. Let me bring this up here. So, tell us why you wanted to show us this one.
It goes with our sort of time and phrasing thing. Like,
Yeah.
Chick has incredible time, and he's a great writer. I had another song that I actually was going to pull up. I really like it, but when this one was in the feed, I was like, "Ooh, excuse me, I don't think I ever saw this one before." And Scott Henderson wasn't in the Electric Band very long. I think he was on one record, and then it was mostly Gumbali, and then it was Mike Miller for a while.
What? This was 86. What?
So-
How old was Henderson here?
I don't know. He was probably
I mean, he had to be young, but so when I was
30 at most, you know.
Yeah, when I was at GIT, he was an instructor there.
Right.
And he was the craziest dude in the building.
So it's funny, you know, Brett Papa tells me that. He said all he used to do is like smoke cigarettes and put it out in a tinfoil ashtray.
Dude,
Is that true?
He was the quintessential guitar teacher. Now, you couldn't smoke inside GIT, but you could absolutely chain smoke at the park, you know, right outside the door. And so he was the quintessential guitar teacher that you'd come in the room. He was always hunched over like this. And for guys that don't know, he had this long, scraggly, curly hair, and he looked like, you know, he hadn't eaten much. You know, it's the Hollywood diet, vodka and cigarettes.
Right.
And I don't know whether he drank or not, but that's what it looked like. And so you would walk in the room, and he's always hunched over like this, and he's just doing just bananas, and he'd look up like, oh, I got a student now, and you'd walk in the room, and it would just be pervasive of cigarette smoke and smell, you know, just like that, just like you hear all the people talk about, you know, their teachers back in the day would just sit there and just smoke at them, like, keep practicing, just like he totally had that vibe, and he was definitely one of those guys. I know that everybody from GIT will hate me saying this, but he was definitely one of those guys. Unlike what I said to you, like at the beginning of the show, like he could play circles around anybody and did the most bizarre shit, but he couldn't make anybody understand a goddamn thing he was doing in the room. Like he tried, but like you already had to be speaking his language to have a conversation. It was very hard to just be a student that like paid your tuition, that showed up, that came from wherever you came from, and were pretty good from wherever you were, but you hadn't been living it for 25 years to enter his room and have like a super high level stratospheric conversation, because he didn't really know how to bring it back down to even like, you know, the tree line.
No, I mean, I revisit his early DVDs a lot. And to be honest, a lot of the great sort of fusion players that made instructional content back in the day were not the best communicators.
Yes.
And they've helped my career because I've learned how to distill that information. Like,
Correct.
you know, and it's all the information's out there. You know, it's just like reading a textbook. You go or you take a class and you go teach a class. Like, it's all, we're sharing the same information. But I could see that how he would be kind of maniacal, you know. Did
you go to a music school or anything like that?
I did not. No. I just went to a recording school, and then everything else has been mostly self-taught. I've had a lot of great instructors over the years, but people that I would go to for a few months or even a few weeks or just one lesson, and just kind of introduce me to things. And a lot of that stuff on my own, like digging into Scott's stuff, or, you know, I would probably, aside from his new True Fire stuff, I own everything Robin Ford's ever done on an instructional level.
Love Robin.
So, my job is to kind of distill it to anyone, not someone who can already play, because it helps me. That's how I have to learn too. So,
see,
same kind of thing.
You took the words out of my mouth. It's like that's, it was very, very clear, especially when you go to music school and you have to, you're forced to, work with a bunch of different instructors regularly, and who are very, very, very different. And some, it's like you get to enter their world,
right?
And you get your 30 minutes with them in their world, and some it's they try to mold themselves to help you in your world,
right?
And it's really a fascinating thing. And to make your point even more, like when I first made the mental jump, and I'm not throwing this assumption on you because it's very clear that you gig at a very high level for a living and do studio work and all that. But around 2012 or 13 or so, I really came to the personal realization that I might be a really good guitar player, but I'm a much better teacher, and I love that communication aspect and getting better at what you're talking about, which is removing the assumptions that we don't know we're making about people, and try to solve those little problems that we forgot that we overcame so long ago.
Well said.
And that's really the stuff that I focus on day in and day out these days.
No, I hear you. And I made a decision late last year that I'm actually a stronger communicator doing this than probably anything else. However,
yes, you are.
However, thank you. And the thing I wanted is experience. And now I realize that I have a handful amount of street cred that will sort of validate me as well. And the cool thing I love about teaching is I'm the student first.
Yes.
Is I'm digging into all this shit so I can teach those students,
Exactly.
When I sometimes put a course together, I have to teach myself the course and then I do it. It's not, some stuff comes naturally off the top of my head that I've been doing for a long time, but that's about it. It's more of an exercise in me like this Benson stuff. I can show you a cool lick that I learned because I did it. I took the time to go into it, and then I want to show it to you. And then that turns into a video, or that turns a light bulb on for somebody, which is huge. And it might set them on a path forever.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more. And I'm so happy to see you and some of our other mutual friends really lean in heavy to online teaching, because you've found, as what I've found, is that the community out there will turn you on to things that you go down paths that you weren't going down before, and you're gonna have to learn it and get good at it before you're ever going to teach it, before you could ever reach it. And it's so the perfect example for me. I know you saw I did that dead lesson or whatever, but like I only got into this band a year ago, and I am in the process of making this 4-part course, because as far as I'm aware, if you look out there, there's some books and stuff, but there really isn't any really dug in deep, like someone who's like done the deep dive and been like, put together a true blue course about this style of music and genre and soloing. And I did the first part after a year. And then I'm going to do part 2 in however long it takes me to get comfortable enough to figure out what that part 2 is and what makes sense. Because, people learn these things, whether it's this genre or ever, it takes them a long time. And to circle back to what you're saying before, is I've found that this online community, this whole process of being pushed by the people, whatever, is forcing me to spend 4 or 5 hours a day with this in my hand and trying to get better at the instrument, which is something I really hadn't done since GIT, and the internet kind of breathed that back into me.
Well, let me add something about being a sideman, and this will go into a forthcoming video some year, is that you spend so much time learning other people's music to make $200 for a show, and you're gone for 3 days, and you might get $30 per diem. That by the time you get home and do your laundry and pay your bills and do whatever else you got to do, you haven't practiced, and you haven't practiced anything else. So you get really good at playing like 5 chords and a couple written 4-bar solos, because that's all that's in modern country and most sideband stuff. Now you take some other like cool bands that have jammy qualities, and you can use those as ways to, stretch out. But most of the gigs that people want to come to this town for don't allow for that at all.
Yep.
Like this gig that I played last Saturday, we do one cover, and it's Bright Lights by Gary Clark Jr. And I go for it. Fuzz pedal, Hendrix Univibe,
swing for it.
And that's my spot. And they give me 2 solos. And then he has another song that's kind of a rock and country kind of boom boom gat dun 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 gat kind of a thing. And I get the chicken pick on that and stuff, which is cool. And that's fine because his music's so good. It's awesome. I love playing it. Right. But most instances aren't like that. And the shitty thing about Nashville is there's not like blues and jazz and jam nights going on all the time. I wish there were. Like if a couple club owners got together and said, hey, we're going to do like if they had a night where I could have a Wednesday and Guthrie Trap could have a Thursday and, and all those, like we would bring people because we have friends, we have people that want to sit in. It would be awesome. And the music would be killer, but it's not, the flavor of the day, and it's not a guaranteed beer sale. So that'll never happen. Should I get off that soapbox? All right, I will. No.
I know that people watching, this is not typically what we talk about, but this is a fascinating conversation to me, because it's the real stuff when you get down to it, because it's why you do what you do. So in my world, not in the Nashville scene, not supporting the type of artists and exactly what you're talking about, but in a blue collar working community, but medium-sized market, people that make a lot of money and gig a lot, or in bands like I was, where you're doing 110, 120 dates a year, and it's all bars, casinos, and wedding stuff. And so you have to know 200 of the best songs front to back, and it's all that stuff. And I learned, even though I played a lot of songs I didn't like, I learned what makes a hit, what makes a hook a hook. You know what I mean? And there's something to be said for, having to do that and make your money each night and be gone for 12 hours and do that, and viscerally see that, when you play this works. When you play this doesn't work, and you do it day in and day out. That taught me so much about music, because so much of it is the audience, and you can learn as much as you want at home, etc., etc. But when you're gone, and you're trying to make a living, and you're playing to audiences that look nothing alike, and you figure out what works where, and what notes connect the chord, and like what makes shit pop and people bite onto it. That is an education in itself. And so when I started teaching online, I always tried to keep that perspective of someone who is gigging to an audience, and always try to keep that as something we spoke about. Like, if you hit this, it's gonna work. You know what I mean? If you like, there's little key takeaways, because that was the thing that even on a local level, like not really what you're talking about, because it's all, hit records. You're not in support of, artists that have songs that say, learn this is the specific 12-bar solo. But like, when you've played 1,000 gigs, and it's all the biggest selling songs of all time, to vastly different demographics, you learn a great deal about what music works and what doesn't. And it's a great education.
No, I'm sure. I mean, whether it's, Pour Some Sugar on Me, or it's Bruno Mars, or whatever. It's like there's reasons why that stuff works, and
nothing hits like Journey.
That's true. I mean, Don't Stop Believing is geez.
Any doesn't. I don't care where you are. That's a crowd killer. Any crowd.
But and then there's also stuff to be learned from that too. Like some of the moments last year on tour where I did have a chance to kind of play whatever I wanted in a big song. You think like, wow, I got a shred on this section, but I thought to
Yes.
myself, wait a second, that's not what Neil Sean would do. Neil
Yes.
Sean would hold a note, and they always say, hit the person in the back of the room with it.
That's it.
So I would try to do that. And, you know, I found it so pleasing just to kind of do like, and it was like, people are just, yeah.
Yeah. And one thing that I never did until I got into the, the corporate cover band world is I never learned the melody to every song that I learned. I only learned the guitar parts, or like you said before, a combination of the guitar parts based on how many pieces I was trying to sound like versus how many people the band leader wanted to pay. But one thing that I, just totally took away is that a lot of these big tunes, man, or even if you don't know the note for note solo,
Right.
or you're sitting with someone you don't know, if you just hammer the melody and you sell it and you let it sear to the back of the room, it's so simple and basic, but it always works. And I shouldn't say, guitar players generally just learn their guitar parts and just go and they take leads, and I was guilty of it for years. Never learned the actual vocal melody, the hooks of the tune that makes it work, and play leads on it when you're sitting with people you're not used to, or just, when you just learned the song and you don't have the note for note thing. It's just such great advice for people to do.
It works on all levels too, because if I'm playing a blues tune, I think about what the main melody of the blues was when I improvise my solo. I won't play the melody pitch wise, but rhythm wise, I will.
Yes.
And I remember remember when like Janet Jackson in the 90s had like that like rock stuff, like Black Cat was that song. And I remember seeing the guitar player and the solo was basically mimicking the vocal melody. And I was like, oh, okay, I get it now. Like you have to actually do that sometimes in a guitar solo, and that makes a cool guitar solo. And a lot of times in a country track, or like what we know as a modern country track, they want you to come up with like a signature lick in the beginning. So when they say, okay, put a signature lick on, I'll go, okay, play the chorus. Because I want to hear what the chorus hook is.
Yeah.
It might be, I'm just a guy in a truck. So then I'll go, or I'll do it on acoustic banjo or something. You know what I mean? Because I want to sort of foreshadow what the listener's ultimately going to hear.
Yeah.
So I'm
totally.
I'm right with you.
Some of my favorite songs, like 2-minute songs, start on the chorus, man. You know what I mean? Like it's just sometimes you start with the hook. It just, I don't know. Anyhow, I don't know how we got on this conversation, but that was good.
It's all edifying, and it's all stuff that you don't really hear in this kind of format. So I enjoy just talking about this kind of stuff, because I think of myself as somebody that, like, I'm behind the curtain and I'm like, okay, guys, I'm going to tell you what I saw. Whereas a lot of time I had somebody say once to me, like, all these teachers and all these courses, they're giving the secrets away. And I was like, there are no secrets. I was like, I could show you something. You're never going to play it like I play it, because we all have our own voice. So it's like, why not just like share it and everybody grow?
No, it's totally true. And the people that are watching have heard me say this before, because I have lots of different guests on this channel, but a lot of whom, I like to bring teachers on because I love seeing how people do it differently. And it's that at the end of the day, people want to learn from people they connect with, that people have a perspective that they want to hear from. You know what I mean? Like
100%.
Like my student might not be your student, might not be Tim Pierce's student, might not be Brett Papa's student. Like it's people connect with people, and you can be in different phases and take things from different people, and it's all great. I, for one, so again, I speak from that local gigging perspective.
Mm-hmm.
I'm so curious, about your perspective, the way you approach stuff. When I watch Tim's videos, you know what I mean? It is a world I know nothing about. And just hearing the perspective from which they view this, what could easily just be a 145, or anything else like that. What they hear is like Bukovac. It's just like, it's totally different. And that stuff fascinates me. So it just fascinates me. So I'm just as much as a student too. I love it, man.
Well, really, that's how I learned, because I sought out all these, not only different styles, but different instructors. When I was talking about that guy who was like SRV and Eric Johnson, at the same time, I was taking lessons from a jazz dude all in the same, it was like all in the summer of my senior year of high school.
Yeah.
And I didn't know what a minor 7 chord was. I didn't know what a major 7 chord was. He gave me the Mickey Baker jazz book, but he was more into Steely Dan. He was more into Average White Band. And so it was like, I didn't learn major 7s and 2-5-1s and all this stuff with a jazz tune. I learned it from like pop music, which made more sense. But like, I remember going to this guy who was a jazz instructor at the local college, and the first song he gave me was 4 by Miles Davis, which changes keys like in the first like 4 bars. And I had no idea music could do that. And I was like, that's ridiculous. I have no idea what's going on. So I understand why that might put you off. But my point is to come back around. We get it from everywhere. So somebody might study with you. They might study with me. They might study with, someone else, come back. So, it's all builds the house. It all does.
Yeah, totally agree.
Yeah.
All right. So now we're going to play your track.
Okay.
So this is Chick Corea, the electric band, we're starting at 20 minutes-ish. So I don't know what tune this is or how long it goes, but I will follow. You just let me know.
I think it's 20 minutes in. Yeah.
Yeah, but do you know what tune they're jumping into?
It should be Gotta Match.
Okay.
Which is like the classic Chick Corea tune.
To a great friend of ours named Joe Farrell, and it's called Gotta Match.
That was a good conversation. I love that, man.
Yeah, absolutely. And Patitucci and Weckel are just destroying this.
Yeah.
And we got to get a keytar in tonight.
We don't get enough keytar here. Look at that face. Oh, he's so intense.
He is. He's a really funny guy, though, from what I hear. This is short-haired Scott, too.
Yes.
This is Afro Scott.
Love that bass.
Listen to that phrasing. Amazing. It's insane. I don't know when Scott starts soloing.
We'll let it go for a little bit.
Yeah. I just love listening to John.
Oh yeah, dude. No,
So good.
crush.
And they were a great shirt, too. Great Hawaiian shirt. Maybe the pitch bend.
Yeah. You ever tried one of those?
No,
Me neither. I'm scared.
I'm okay. I'm good. Gotta get to Scott.
Yeah, no, I want to hear Scott. I haven't heard him play in 10 years.
Yeah. So back to the melody. Yeah. Yeah, so I think John plays now. I just wanted to show the melody.
Yeah.
I just wanted to talk about how crazy that melody is and how fast it is. And John's playing on a 6-string bass with his fingers, and it's like that song is very short overall. It'd be like playing Happy Birthday really fast and then just improvising on it from there, yet always knowing the form going by. So for those that have no interest in fusion, there you go.
You know what? Before we go on, I'm gonna let one of the moderators take a pick. Before we go on, I do want to jump and see Scott take a lead, just because I haven't seen that madman in a long time. Let's see if I can fast forward. Here we go.
It's a great watch.
I was gonna say, look at that Timex.
Yeah.
Yeah. Dude,
Yeah,
it's
it's
too much.
it is too much. It's crazy. So crazy.
Well, dude, thank you so much for joining me, man.
Oh man, this has been a blast.
Dude,
I'll come
I
back
really
anytime.
I really appreciate it. I'm gonna
Glad to
take
get to know you too, dude. For sure. We'll have to. Hopefully, when things are different, we'll see each other at NAMM or something.
I would love to.
Or if I visit the PRS factory, I'll come and see it.
All right, before we go there, how'd you get involved with PRS? Or how long you been playing their stuff?
Couple years now. They called me. A friend of mine who played in a big touring band in Nashville recommended me. He'd been working with them for years. And he just said, man, he's like, the nicest thing he said was like, you do so much for the guitar community. I think you should be involved with PRS. And they called me and sent me a bunch of guitars to check out. And most of them haven't left. Some of them have. And it's a lot of fun. I'm having a great time.
Yeah, so obviously I'm in Maryland, so I'm like I'm an hour away from them. So yes, if you ever come up, like, dude, please let me know. But they are honestly, the people are better than the guitars they make.
Well said.
And the guitars are fantastic.
Right.
You know, the people really make the difference. They have been a supporter of mine, for like 5 or 6 years now, like long before, I had any big social media love or anything like that. And I just, I just feel grateful, like, to know them. They really are just a tremendous group of people. Like everybody that Paul hires has like the same core like thing, and I get, so again, just like I said before, like I have like no pedal board. I just do like tuner wah, like maybe a clean boost straight into the amp. I'm not a collector of gear. Like I don't have like that rack of guitars that you have behind you, and I've been somebody that plays basically one guitar for like 10 years, and then something else comes along and I play that for 10 years, and then I usually go back to the other one. I have more kids than guitars. And like I say all that to say that now that like things are kind of moving and grooving on YouTube, etc., and people kind of know who I am, I get reached out to all the time by like a bunch of big brands want to send me stuff, and like I don't even consider it. Like I just love PRS so much, and they've been such a supporter of mine for so long when I had really nothing really big to speak of, but they have always, since the day one, like treated me just like any other artist or anybody that walked into that factory, and they're just tremendous people. I'm like forever grateful to know them. Like they've always had my back, and they've always believed, like I said, even when I started in 2014, or maybe I think I met Paul in 14. Even back then, they were all in on online education. They've always believed in education.
Yeah. No, I mean I feel the same way, and I talked to. I have an interview with Mark Lettieri sitting in the can that I haven't edited yet because I want to add some things. And Mark is awesome. And one of the things we talked about was we really only work with companies that we're friends with. And
Totally.
I'm lucky to not only be involved with some great companies, but they're all awesome people. And there's some that I'm like, man, I just wish they were better to their artists, and they're not. And they will go unnamed. But
I know.
But PRS obviously is top of the heap. Universal Audio has treated me so well, and getting to know a little bit about them, the pride that everybody has there for that gear is insane. They absolutely love it. And then I worked with Martin for years. I grew up 20 minutes east of the Martin factory, which had like no connection, oddly enough, to my working with them. And then Two Rock, like I reached out to them, and I become such good friends with them that we don't talk about amps much. We talk about everything under the sun, other than
exactly.
And it's and I've become that way with the folks at PRS a little bit, and they are. I always try to say, how can I help you? Like,
yes.
I
Always.
I made a big video for my Two Rocks that I spent a lot of money on to do it in a studio and make it really well produced because it was my gift to them. We're working on this video with American Musical Supply where we're going to give away, see that green CE24?
Yeah.
We're going to give that away soon. So y'all watch.
Nice.
Keep your eyes out. And it's, how can I put your product into the spotlight? Not that you need me, but I'm here to help. And so I feel really lucky to work with all those kinds of people, and that's all I will continue to work with. Even my smaller builders like Mario Martin here in Nashville, I have a bunch of his guitars. I'm getting a Novo. They're here in Nashville. I like supporting them. In the past, I've supported Third Power, who's also here. And I wanted to mention the reason I have a lot of gear is because it was like, oh, I have to have these tools. Like you've been to Tim Pierce's. It's like guitars, and it's like I have
that place is really overwhelming.
Yeah, I have like 30 overdrive pedals, but they're all a little bit different, and you never know what you're gonna need.
I just on a side note, when I first went to Tim's,
yeah.
I mean, who by the way invited me to his house basically on a cold call, because literally when I first met Tim, I shot him a message, and I basically said, because I didn't really know who he was at that time,
mm-hmm.
but I was friends with Marty Schwartz, who obviously knew him, and I called Marty and I said, hey, I ran into Paul Reed Smith, and he told me flat out, no, I'm never going to work with you. Why would I work with you when I'm best friends with Tim Pierce? He's the best in the game. And I was just like, okay, I got to meet this guy, Tim Pierce. And so Marty connected me with Tim, and I called Tim, or I sent him an email, and he immediately called me back on the phone. And he said, well, who are you? And I said, well, I met Paul, and he said, you're the best teacher in the game, that he won't work with me because you're so good. And he goes, oh, okay. You in town for a NAMM? I said, yeah. He's like, all right, here's my address. Come over. And so we hung out like the whole day.
Yeah.
And this was many years ago when I had virtually nothing going on. And you go up into his lair. And for those of you that don't know, he needs to do more like swooping shots of everything. It's like, it's almost like you go up into his house and there's two masters, and like the one master on the other side is that his whole thing is in the dead center of the room. And then everything, all the guitars are around it. And then all the cables go straight down 2 floors into the garage where he built this giant, ISO booth for all his amps. And each amp has all the different mics on the different parts of the amp. And then he can select it all. It's all just left on. He can select it all upstairs. I had never seen anything like that in my life.
He's set up for sure.
Dude, he's really set up.
Oh, yeah. It's been great getting to know him through all the Universal Audio stuff we've done, and then I've been on his channel like 3 times or so.
Yes,
and,
yeah.
Man, so gracious. Like,
he's an incredibly kind person.
Yeah.
Yeah, he is an incredibly kind person.
And there's no secrets. Like, he'll tell you anything you want to know.
Yes. Well, that's another thing that I've found too. Just like you say that you work with brands that you're friends with, I've found that there's a very core group of people on the internet here that are really, really tight and very, very helpful and transparent and kind. And it's not that dog eat dog thing with that it might seem to everybody watching. There's a lot of that, but there's a very, very core group of which Tim is absolutely one.
So here's a tender moment I can share.
Please.
So full transparency, I was on a stage last September. It was like 97 degrees. I was in like Bismarck, North Dakota. A 40-minute sound check was going 2 hours long because of power problems.
I love the details.
Dying. I was just sweating, and I was like, this is ridiculous. And I said, all I want to do is be home making videos right now, and I should be living the dream, right? But it was horrible. Now, not all touring is that way, but a switch flipped in me, and I just wanted to go home. And I said, and I just started dating my fiance, and was like, look, it's not always going to be this way. I'm working on some things to stay home more. Trust me, we're going to build a life and a relationship, and we're going to be solid. And we started to do that at that time.
Yep.
And you know how important that is, and man,
I built my whole life around it. That's why I did this, because I started having kids, and
there you
I
go.
wanted to be around. My dad never was, and all those things. Yeah.
No, and I did, I love to travel because I love to meet people and experience things. But I said, when you got Tim Pierce and Brett Papa literally saying, you're leaving 75% of your capability on the table right now. They're like, you're functioning at 25%. They're like, you look good, you play great, you speak well, you know your shit. Get out there and do it. So come a year later, I'm at NAMM, and I go to the little YouTuber party. And
was this last year?
It was last year. So you must have been there. I
was at the pool.
Yeah.
I was there.
So was I. Yeah. So we didn't know each other then. But
God,
when I had all of the YouTubers that we know, and Paul Davids is coming up to you, and Andy, and they're like, man, we love what you're doing, keep it. And I remember my phone died. I hadn't spoken to my fiance. She's on 2 hours ahead of me here in Nashville, and we're in LA, we're in Anaheim. And she was like, I was worried, we didn't talk, what's going on? And I was like, my phone died, but I have to tell you, I went back to my hotel room and cried. I literally cried because it was all happening. It was like, for the first time in my life, the choices I made were like all peaking, And I was like,
and let me add to that, because it's not like it was 500 people there. It was like 50 or 60 people there.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Right.
And I think it's just blind luck that you may not have known who I was, but I found you that NAMM. Again, you were at the Universal Audio thing with Tim, so it might have been that afternoon, right? And so I might not have known your name, and you would have known me. But the point I'm making is that we're choosing to go down a path where the people watching, or even the people that are considering doing this is really important. It's not like there's that many of us that really do it well and make a living doing
that thing. Yeah.
It is a very small core group. And when you go to NAMM and you meet, your Rick Beatos and your Paul Davids and your Adam Neely's and Anthony Stauffers and everybody else, and Marty and everybody that we all know. And it's not like it's hundreds of people. Like I can tell you that I know that you have a few down in Nashville, but where I am in the Mid-Atlantic, in between maybe Rick in Atlanta and Adam in New York, I don't know any online educators that it's their full-time thing,
right?
Have a family, pay their bills, like own a house, like that do it. Like it is like, I don't know anybody in many, many, many hours. It's so new. And I will totally double down on what Tim and Brett were saying, that like you really do it exceptionally well. So keep on the horse, brother.
I appreciate that, man. Because the thing is, you said it about, if you're thinking about doing this, you did it. You went through all those years where you had probably 2,000 views, 3,000 views.
Totally.
And when I have a video that bombs or doesn't do well or something, and because I'm still a fledgling on the YouTube world, the thing was, I had 20 courses. I was like, do I need to do any more? Then I was like, wait a second, I can totally reinvent this whole thing. And then light bulbs started going off, and I was like, oh, wait a second, I can make this work for me. And then I can have no handcuffs on the material. I can teach whatever I want. I can, hopefully make enough money to support myself, and then make my own records and do whatever else I want, and be free and autonomous. And that's really what I want to do. But I mean, man, if you don't think I think about quitting all the time, of course,
Oh, it's no different than anything else. It's the artist struggle. It's the struggle of a lifetime. But no, I was again, you might not know this, but I was in a similar boat before. I mean, I've been teaching online full time since 13. And I didn't have a video pop on YouTube until 19, but I had made a dozen courses. I quit teaching in person in probably 15.
Right.
And then I stopped gigging, the 100+ dates a year or so in probably 18. And so I've been full time with this for a long time. And I only started the whole React series because I was so burnt out and realized I hadn't tried to get better at this thing
Yeah.
in a really long time. I tried my ass off to be a great teacher and to, build a business and make courses and do all the things that you're talking about.
Right.
But I never found my voice on YouTube until I started doing the React thing. And that actually came about. I actually put the guitar down for like 3 or 4 months in 2019, and had to step back from it. And then when I came back, I just started, instead of trying to make these super scripted videos, I just started doing what you always did when people would bring something into a room. You have 30 minutes, you hear it, you listen to it, you give your key takeaways, no edits, you put the camera on, you put it up, and I knew it wasn't going to be a lesson because I was not getting everything right, even half the things sometimes. And I'm doing a lot of anecdotal personal stories.
Right.
So I just call them reacts. And before it, and lo and behold, I found my voice on YouTube. But it took 8 years.
Wow.
7 years,
Yeah.
just like you, of making tons of courses, being a successful instructor. But YouTube's a hard nut to crack, man. But just know that, like, your courses and all this stuff that you make totally speaks for itself. But I completely agree with Brett and Tim, and like, I'm so happy to see you out on the scene because it's very rare to see someone teach as well as they play, and like they said, look good, be able to speak and communicate, not be a train wreck on camera, and be personable and have people like them. Like, you do it great, man. I'm excited to meet you in person.
Likewise. That's why
and do more of this.
Oh, that's awesome, dude. This has been great. My butt's getting tired.
Yeah, I'm gonna talk to you for 1 minute.
Of course.
Once we get over here.
Sure.
Guys, I'm gonna, just because you requested it, I'm gonna play this for the way out. They wanted something totally different. Big Empty, Stone Temple Pilots acoustic.
Oh, this is a good one. Oh, I remember watching this when it came out.
Yeah.
This is a new song. It's gonna be on our
So we'll let this go for a minute, and then you and I will chat a little bit.
Empty.
I know you went a long time. I'm proud of you.
I'm in it for the long haul.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. Thank you, Vandy. Thank you, Beware.
By the way, that's Sean Tubbs on guitar. Sean Tubbs.
Is it?
That's Sean Tubbs on acoustic.
Driving faster in my car.
Everybody knows Sean Tubbs, right?
Yeah. Awesome.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, you're good. Tom Haviland, Cashew, Fishing Idaho on a Harley, all the other mods, Devoted to Mariah, Todd Benson, love you guys, Dime Life, Vandy.
Take her home, her dizzy head is concentrated. Time to take her ride, it leaves today, no conversation. Time to take
US Elite Ski, Richard, Jimmy James, Brian.
way too long, to wait too long, to wait too long.
This is a good track. All right, we'll do the fade out here. All right, everybody, I love you so much. I'll see you next Tuesday, maybe Thursday. We'll see how it goes. Thank you for spending a night with us and doing something positive. And, you can watch the stuff on the debates tomorrow and watch the world eat itself. I appreciate you doing something fun and positive with us. And if you don't already follow Corey, please follow him. I'm not just blowing smoke up of his ass. He's obviously a great player, but he's a hell of a teacher too. Check out his courses. Mods, thanks for dropping his links. Follow his Instagram, and see y'all real soon. Corey, hang tight.
Thanks, everybody.